Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. Today's a bonus episode. My name is Dan. We're going to be covering senior men's baseball today, a comprehensive look at the Minnesota teams and how they did in the Roy Hobbs 34th Annual World Series. Basically, the 4 weeks that this has been going on, the final games wrapped up yesterday. Today is November 12th, 2023. Thanks for listening. What we're going to do is go through the week by week for all the teams in the state of Minnesota. Typically, this tournament brings in nationwide teams and teams from other countries as well, all down to Fort Myers, Florida, in a tournament where each week there's typically over 50 teams coming in. Minnesota is usually well represented with multiple teams every year, very well represented. And today I'm going to put together a comprehensive look at all those teams and how they did. Kind of a shout out to the local Minnesota teams. Once again, it's the 34th annual tournament that takes place, senior men's baseball, down in Florida. They take place on the fields of the Boston Red Sox training facility and the Minnesota Twins training facility. Let's start off with week one. Week one and week two. Here's the age group. They're broken down by age groups. So 35 plus is the first week, 35 and older. Minnesota sent down 3 teams that week, the Web Gems, the Blenders, and a team called the HPK Oilers. I've got listed there the number of games they played, their win-loss record over the week. They just do 1 week. They're not down there all 4 weeks, but we're going to go one by one here. And then on the far right in bold, how they finished. The Minnesota Web Gems won the bracket 4A. This is the top. This is the top of the bracket, the biggest, the best of the best. Usually there's Puerto Rican teams in there, Dominican Republic teams in there, teams from Orlando, teams from the South. The Minnesota team won it. Web Gems, hats off. Congratulations to the Web Gems. The Blenders missed 1 game getting to the finals. They finished in 3rd place, the Minnesota Blenders. Also in 4A bracket. And HPK Oilers, nothing to sneeze at, finished 4th place. There's only 8 teams in that 4A bracket. So let's put it this way. Of all the teams that played in 35 plus, the 3 Minnesota teams all finished in the 4A bracket in the top 4 places in the entire tournament. I don't know if that's ever been done. Just to reach that far game, the last game that you play is always on a Saturday. To have all 3 teams there in bold finishing or placing, rather, in that tournament was one of the reasons I wanted to put together this broadcast. Hats off once again to them. The following week was the age bracket for 45 plus. And so Minnesota sent down 3 teams, the Diamonds, the Catfish. That's the team that I run. That's the first time we've ever brought the team called the Catfish down. It was our inaugural season for the Catfish. And then a team called the Bandits. And so there's how they finished. The Diamonds went to AAA. The result was eliminated. Now, what that means is that they went to the tournament, did really well. They didn't make it to play Saturday, though. They never got to play that final day. They went 12 innings and were walked off by the eventual winner in the bottom of the 12th inning to be sent home on Friday, but still put together a very good week. And once again, they lost to the eventual winner. That Diamonds team could have won the whole thing there as well for the AAA. So notice once again, this is AAA, not 4A, but AAA, they did really well. The other 2 teams, the Catfish and the Bandits, both ended up in the AA bracket. Both were eliminated and did not play by the time Saturday came around, that final day. The semifinals and finals are always held on Saturday. That's what I'm going to be putting here for this result. So they were both in AA. Let's go to the next week. The next week, the 53s. This is 53 and up age group. Look at this. 7 teams represented by Minnesota in this tournament. 7 for just that 1 week. Starting at the top, the HPK Oilers, 53-year-old version of this, went 5-2. They were in the 4A bracket. That's the best. That's the biggest that there is. And they were eliminated on before they got to play on Saturday. Did very well, though. Minnesota Bandits sent two teams down, the Red and the Gold. The Red were in AAA, didn't make it to play Saturday. The Gold finished 1-5, did not make it to the tournament at all. Them and the Minnesota Goats, they're at the bottom. Both went 0-5, and then they don't go to a tournament. They just play another friendship game and then get sent home early. So the Gold, Minnesota Bandits Gold, won that participation game, if you will, or a friendship game, and then they went home. Minnesota Goats played that last game and lost that as well. The Cardinals went 4-3, were placed in the AA bracket along with the Minnesota Millers, who went 4-4, also in AA. Both did not reach the Saturday final tournament. As you notice there, the games played, you're guaranteed 6 games in this tournament, so you're guaranteed 6. So no one will be playing less than 6 games here, but you could be playing between 7, 8, and 9 games, depending on how you do. The Twins, Minnesota Twins, went 1-5. They were down in the single A bracket and did not make it past Friday in the tournament. But 7 teams, a big contingent there. State of Minnesota well represented in the 53 week. The final week, which was this past week, the 60-plus team and the 70-plus, yes, I did not stutter, 70-plus baseball. Twins, Minnesota was represented by the Minnesota Bees in the 70-plus, and there's a much smaller group there of teams that play, but this is still, once again, regular baseball, 90-foot bases for the old 70-plus group. Mainly, though, the 60-plus is where the action is at for that final week. The Minnesota Bees went 6-2 in 8 games. They've reached Saturday's 10 a.m. game in the semifinal, but lost. Minnesota Bees got beat, so they finished 3rd place in that 4A bracket. That's the big bracket. And usually that Minnesota Bees team historically has done well in that age bracket over the years. They finished 3rd. The other teams sent down were the Minnesota Bandits, who finished in the 3A bracket, didn't make it to play on Saturday, and the Minnesota Goats wound up in the lowest bracket, Class A, and didn't make it to Saturday. Minnesota Bees, once again, went 5-0 off their first 5 games, went into the 4A bracket, the biggest of the biggest. Once again, Minnesota Bees. This is where the big boys play. They won their first 2 games, got to the finals on Saturday afternoon, and got beat by 1 run. They finished in 2nd place. Hats off to them. Once again, another successful year for the Minnesota Bees. Both the 70 and the 60-plus Bees versions finished and placed in the tournament. Now, I've never done this before, but here's a comprehensive look. I summed up here on the podcast. I summed up by age group the number of wins and losses in games played. 35-plus team overall went 20-5. 45-plus teams went a combined 9-10. 53-plus 20-27. 60-plus 9 wins, 11 losses, and the 70-plus 7-1. So they finished with the best record for the best percentage was the 70-plus with an 87% winning percentage down there in 1 week, overtaking the great week that the 35-plus team had. So overall, Minnesota teams represented 119 games in 4 weeks, winning 55% of those games. Once again, it's the first time I've ever done this, and just wanted to put together a comprehensive look on the Minnesota teams. They're always well represented there at Roy Hobbs. This is the 34th year that the Roy Hobbs organization has done this. The teams always take place, and the tournament always takes place in Fort Myers, Florida. Next year will be the 35th annual year. But congratulations once again to all the Minnesota teams down there, well represented. Please leave your comments and questions down below, and hopefully we'll do something like this again next year. Thanks for listening.